So I think it's about time someone made a video on this. Uh, a retrospective of trap metal. Now I've seen some people make videos of this talking about like the downfall of trap metal or like the death of trap metal. But I just wanted to make my own video and get my own thoughts and opinions out there because it's just been weird over the years what's happened with like music and stuff. When I say I was a big trap metal fan back in the day, I mean I was listening to like every song almost on the Void Tracks channel, and I was like, I watched like that No Bands video, the top 10 scream rappers that he posted like when that video first came out, and then immediately took note of like every artist on that video and started listening to their music. Yeah, I've listened to a lot of trap metal, so I just wanted to talk about what I think happened and just answering some questions that people might have about it, coming from someone who really liked this genre like almost 10 years ago now. So how I'm going to do this video is I basically like got some questions that I feel like people might have about the genre that I feel like would be interesting to answer in a retrospective way. And I feel like the best way to start it would be basically asking, what is trap metal? And there's a few definitions, it's going to be a little different for everyone, but the simplest way to put it is basically just a trap beat and screaming. That's about it. It'll help to have like a certain vocal pattern or like sample like guitar riffs from metal bands and stuff. That definitely helps, but the simplest way is to describe it would just be a trap beat and screaming, and that's about it. Now, another question that a lot of people might have is, who started this? And there is a few answers for that. Some people might say Cyber started it. Some people will say X started it. Some people would say Scarlord started it. And, some people will say like Bone started it. But if I had to find the earliest example of what I would consider trap metal, in my opinion, would be from Cyber. And these two songs that come to mind made by Cyber, and this is like, it's not really trap metal. I feel like it was like almost unintentionally became it because he kind of has like his own style and does his own thing. But it would be his song Noise. And his song Questions. Now, both of these songs came out in late 2015, and that's like the earliest example of what I consider trap metal to be that I could find. But what really got me into it, and the first song that I consider trap metal that I ever heard, had to be Sippin' Tea in Your Hood by X, and which is 10 years old, by the way. But that song really just made me instantly realize that I need to find more artists that do this. And not to mention, there are definitely genres that definitely inspired trap metal. Like a big one is nu metal. A lot of nu metal is like rap and rock mixed together, and that's also what trap metal is. It's almost like the same thing, but they're the other way around. Horrorcore is definitely another big one, which is basically just rap music that covers dark themes, and that's obviously, if you're making a genre that's this aggressive, that's going to be very, very prevalent, a very constant theme that you're going to find. And the third one that's kind of inspired it, I would say, would be like crunk music. But except crunk is like happy. It's kind of like a happy yelling just to get hyped, while trap metal is more angry. So once 2016 ended, 2017 came around, and this was, in my opinion, the peak of trap metal in 2017. So many artists just popped out of nowhere. There was like Project, of course, Scarlord, Zilla Kami, Fuck It, Kamiyata, like so many artists just popped up making this genre of music, and people were really getting hooked on it, you know. Not only artists, but a lot of producers out there were getting a lot of recognition for producing beats for this genre, like Pulse. If y'all remember, he used to be Studsy, if y'all remember that. Virus and Antidote, like Zerachi, Crossfade. And not to mention, this is also when Scarlord dropped Heart Attack, which is currently sitting at 109 million views. And this is pretty much the national anthem of trap metal. The only song that I think I could consider trap metal that has more views than that is, I forgot the name of the song, but that song that Ghostmane made. But, like for Scarlord, that was the whole song. You knew his thing was being aggressive and screaming. Ghostmane, he didn't have that throughout like the whole song, but Scarlord, that was his whole thing. So things were looking pretty good, but I feel like 2018 might have started the downfall of trap metal. I feel like there's, if I were to do the research, I'm sure there's still a lot of artists making that genre around that time, but X passed away, and he was like the most well known for doing this style. Other artists that were like had got a lot of fans from doing this style kind of moved away from it. And overall, the genre just, what happens to a lot of good things, it just got oversaturated, and so many people were doing it, and people just got tired of seeing it, so it just became less cool. And it also started I just call it the Scarlord effect, where like people were just putting X's and their names, and turning their A's upside down to V's, and just having names you could barely read and stuff. There was just a lot of people doing it, and it got oversaturated. So X had passed away. A lot of artists that had gotten big off of doing this style probably didn't want to just be known as that guy that screams, and they just wanted to do other stuff. And a lot of artists were kind of just popping up and oversaturating the genre, and not really doing too much new to make things different. So do I think this genre can make a comeback somehow? And I think it would be difficult, and this is kind of the same reason why trap metal died and became not cool, and that's just the burgerification of music nowadays. If you try to make any type of music even a little bit different from whatever style is like popular right now, you're gonna get called a coworker music. It's gonna get called burger music. It's gonna get called just edgelord corny music. That's what people are gonna call it nowadays. And it just sucks, because like it's really difficult for people to experiment without being called out like that. I really just feel like people need to just realize that whatever's cool right now is going to be corny in the future. So just enjoy it while it's, cool. And lastly, I feel like some people might be asking, why do people like this genre so much? Because it got so popular, it died off, and there's still a lot of people out there that are like still big fans, like a cult following. So my story is kind of like, I feel like could explain why so many people like it. But when I grew up, I was like really big on rock and metal music, and that's kind of all I listened to, mainly because I like where I lived, and the games I played. I was playing like SSX games, Tony Hawk games, whatever, Full Wheeler games, and of course Guitar Hero. And hearing my dad being able to say like, yeah, I used to listen to that when I was your age or this age, and it just became a genre that I really liked. But of course, rock and metal music just slowly started to die out, and you just needing to find new music to listen to. Of course, like I was like 12 in 2012, so there was a dubstep phase, but I started listening to rap music. I think like when GTA 5 came out, that's kind of like, I remember hearing kids at school like referencing songs from Radio Los Santos, and I think that's kind of like what got me into it, you know, just hearing the music in that game and just, you know, just seeing that that was the new popular music. So just, you know, going from one genre to the other and then later on hearing both of them kind of mixed together, it just sounded right, especially like when you were 16 at the time and just wanting to be different. But that's about it for this video. I want people in the comments to answer these questions. Do you think trap metal will come back? Do you think it's still like a good genre? Do you like, or do you think it's cornier now, or what?